Hey guys, here we are in week 5, and you guys are doing really good work. And I've said it a couple of times, but I'll say it again. Most of what we're doing right now, the gathering and the reading and the looking over things and analyzing and asking questions, is going to help you as we get to where we're going to work on the bigger projects. So as you're working on all this, you're getting yourself ready to put all that together. Um, Summer uh, uh, volunteered to let me kind of review her document analysis worksheet, and that way to give you guys some feedback in this video as to kind of what you're looking for and how to do it, and just some suggestions on writing and things like that. First, I'd want to say, well, thank you to Summer. I really appreciate it. And second, she picked some really good documents. She's done a good job of choosing some good documents to look at. So I'm gonna go ahead and talk about both of her documents, and hopefully not make this video too long. I'll try to work through it quickly. Her first one was a last will and testament, an example of that, and then she had a construction progress report. So those are two really good ones to look at. Um, As far as filling in the worksheet, she's done a really excellent job. So I'm not going to say a whole lot. I mean, I'm going to let you look at what she did, and you know, is a really good job in filling in what we're looking for in the worksheet. But I'm also going to talk about some of the wording and kind of how to explain some of this, because even though this is a worksheet and I'm not really going to like go through and grade it for exact wording and things like that, I'm just going to talk about some maybe some ways to reword some stuff, because when you put together your actual project from this, you will want to have things to where they're very clear to the reader, and you're going to want to look very carefully at the word choice. A lot of people think if you're putting things in boxes or you're just filling out a chart or whatever, that you don't have to worry about that kind of stuff, but all the rules that apply to, say, something that's written like a regular paragraph in that kind of more standard, what we think of standard writing, you go to putting something in boxes or charts or diagrams or whatever, the same rules still apply. Your readers still have to figure out what you're saying. So the boxes and the different format doesn't change things. You still want to think about, how is this making sense to the reader? And in a lot of cases, you even have to think a little bit more. Okay, so she's got her title. Now, I didn't tell you had to do this, but this is something you'll want to make sure you do for the actual project. Last will and testament example document. I went ahead and italicized that, and then over here the title of the project report, I put quotation marks around that. If you're not familiar with titles and when to do what, you want to look that up and review it. It's probably in the book somewhere. Off the top of my head, I can't remember where, but you can Google it too. But an easy way to remember that is if you've got a larger, and not larger in terms of bigger, but the overarching title of a bigger work, then that's going to be italicized. If you've got something that's part of a larger work, then usually those are going to be in quotes. And you might say, well, a progress report is kind of a single overarching kind of thing, but really project reports, they're within the context of the conversation you're having at work. So it's like you've got several memos related to the same kind of topic. So those are really smaller parts of a larger thing. So that's kind of the easy way to remember it. The smaller parts you're going to put in quotes. The larger, whatever the larger thing is, will be italicized. So let's say you have the title of a web page. That would be italicized. Sections or part of a web page or a website would be in quotes, using quotation marks. Okay, so her first one is a legal document. It's a will. At first she didn't have a date, but when I looked, the dates aren't filled in, but if you go down here at the bottom, it does say 1999. So I was going by that. So apparently it was the version being used for that year. Okay, her audience, and notice she talked about all the different people. More often than not, there may be many different people in the audience for the document. In here, this has to do more with being consistent. Consistency, and I talked a little bit about that when I talked about the visual rhetoric. But consistency is a very important part of helping your reader and also making sure that your documents are written in a formal professional manner. So after a person has passed, this will can be used to I would say determine what belongings the deceased left behind and determine who is responsible for certain belongings, who is granted possession of those belongings, and who will be the guardian for the person's children, who may be minors at the time of the person's passing. This last part, and what they, now there's a couple of places in here where these are pronouns, they, it, he, she. You want to make sure that your pronoun references are very clear, and really you don't want to use pronouns a lot in formal writing. You want to go ahead and put the concrete specific name of whomever or whatever you're referring to so that you know it's clear for your reader. So I'm guessing she means the minors. So remember, whatever you put in here, it needs to be complete sentences, and it needs to be, the sentences need to be written in a, professional, not real formal, but at least a, professional workplace setting. The document, she explains why. That's pretty good. Okay, she's got both long and short. It depends on the topic. And then she gives some examples. See, that's very good. You don't want to just say one or the other, like here, if it's both. I mean, I as a reader, I'm going to be thinking, okay, well, why is it both? Tell me a little bit more about that. She used less. Really, you should use fewer. That's if you want to look up the rule for less and fewer, that will set you apart. That will show that you are knowledgeable of, the rules of formal writing. But technically, if you can count like 1, 2, 3, 4, you're going to use fewer. Every other thing besides that, amounts, you would use less. And see, we're talking about words here, so I can count words. I can say 1 word, 2 words, 3 words. So that way I'll say fewer. Average sentences per paragraph, they technically 5, that's correct, but I put in parentheses here again just, to kind of help the reader. Really, this document, they're technically, I wouldn't call them paragraphs. I mean, they are sort of paragraphs, but they're really almost sections in a way. Because, like, general provisions, these are going to be different sections. These are put there to cover certain things. It's almost like in a way a bulleted list. Back when these kind of legal documents were put together, they didn't really use bulleted lists that much. But it's more like sections, really, even though, I mean, technically, they're written in like that paragraph format. And technically, there are those kinds of lists, but not lists like we're talking about, like numbered lists or bulleted lists like the book has. So, I mean, that's not necessarily wrong. Each paragraph, or you could say section, has a topic sentence. I would say an intro statement here again because it's more of a, sections in a legal document to let the reader know what that section of the will is addressing. On the topic, here's her example. That's good. And anytime you're using any kind of example, make sure you put quotes around it. And Summer did that most places, but there are a couple places where probably just, being in a hurry, she forgot to put those in. But anytime you're quoting anything, you want to make sure you put that in there. You don't want the reader to assume, that or have to wonder where that came from. Now, this is good because type of evidence, she really has a different type of evidence than what is listed here. So she explains to the reader, here the evidence is signatures. It's a little bit different. How knowledgeable. She did a very good job of explaining this. Family members are going to know what the person is talking about, but a lot of the language is, legalese, and so there's some of it that would need, lawyers to interpret it. It doesn't have jargon necessarily, but like she says, specialized legal terminology is used, and then she gives some examples of that. Long-winded, what, we kind of know legal legal writing, tends to be long-winded. She didn't give an example, though, so you need to put one of those in there. Number of sentences. Now, I put a capital C here. Here again, this is consistency. So, like, if you're going to capitalize every word, the first word of everything you put in these boxes, you want to be consistent. If you're not capitalizing, then be consistent the other way. Don't capitalize. And here, I think for this case, it's good to capitalize. So, like I said, those were some, just some style, general statements about the writing. Now here, this is one of those references, it. It's not very clear. For Summer, it's clear because she knows what it's talking about. We talk about writer-based, reader-based. This is what we do as a writer. I know what I've set up here, so I'm going to say it, meaning all of this, does whatever. But you want to be clear on what it refers to. I'm guessing this statement or this statement above, the sentence she just quoted, shows that the reader really does need some knowledge, blah, blah, blah. Examples of voice, very good, very good. Word choice formalized, blah, blah, blah. Word choice example. And then see, she gives the example. She needs a period there. I use this sentence again because it shows the formal language. So see, she's explaining to the reader. That's all very, very good. See, I'm not having to guess, why did she choose that, or what's she seeing there. What are their observation? Every sentence contains important information. And then down here, the style is very straight to the point. She just put a comma. However, this would be a compound sentence. So a compound sentence is when you have two complete sentences. They're either joined by and, but, or. Those are like your compound conjunctions. Or in this case, the coordinate conjunction. However, you're going to want to use a semicolon. So if you don't know those rules, you want to look them up. But you want to use them correctly. I will tell you, though, however, if you use semicolons correctly in your writing, people look at that and be impressed. Because not many people are good at that. Okay, second document. Let me show you just a little bit. Let me show you. It's a very interesting document. It's got sort of just the general information. It's got headings. Now, I did want to talk again about consistency. You've got a list here, and that's something we've been reading about recently in the text, or I don't know, we have or we will be here pretty soon. Whenever you have anything where you're doing the same level of information, so here, all of these bullets, this list, all of these are at the same level. They have to be constructed the same way. So they have to all either be noun phrases, complete sentences, verb phrases, maybe, starting with ing, but they have to be the same. Now, these need some work because you got mobilization of NEI to the site. That's not technically a complete sentence, but then you got erosion control measures were implemented. And it seems like most of these in this list are this complete sentence with the past tense. And see, this says construction activities performed. So that means there are things that were done. So here, I would say, NEI was mobilized to the site. That's past tense. Erosion control measures were implemented. Existing woody debris was removed. Habitat mix was removed. So you see how they're complete sentences with the past tense, the verbs. NEI begins. So see, I would say began, because past tense. Demarcation fabric was replaced. NEI began placing. NEI began placing or placed. I mean, I'm assuming they're wanting to say began, or that it's in process. So, but I would say began. Now, if this is something that hasn't happened yet, I would say it wouldn't go under this section. Summary, schedule of activities. If you have any questions, please call me. Sincerely, blah, blah, blah. And then the attachments are very interesting. Remember, like I said earlier, it doesn't matter if you are, writing, traditional memo letters or whatever, or if you're sticking stuff in boxes, you still want to be consistent. So here, this is a daily diary. So you want these lists to be, again, consistent. You want them to all be the same kind of format. Now here, if possible, I would put a table in here. It might not be possible, but it might even be an option that you could do your table, say in a Word document or some other program, and then make it an image, and then copy and paste it in here. I mean, that's just one. But there are a lot of times in these boxes, you've probably experienced it where there's only so much you can do. But it's kind of, there's not much space here between the times. And I was talking about white space when I was talking about the visual. Let me go down and show you. Here it's a little bit better. Here the writer left a little bit more space, but like here, I would move this erosion control over. Same thing here, move it over so that you technically have a row here and then a row here, and maybe even just leave more space, just maybe, tab once and push these over. So then visually, you can see how those things are separated. Now this one has some, has the photos in it. I talked a little bit, I think, about that. If not, this one says photo 2. There wasn't a photo 1. So as a reader, I'm not clear on why we're starting with photo 2 and not photo 1. I mean, maybe it makes sense, but for you guys, when you're putting together a report like this, you want to follow the formal rules of putting together reports and reporting information. Photo 2, you should always explain what this is. Photo 2, taking it blah, blah, blah to show blah, blah, blah. And then you want to say who took the photo. Now, in this situation, it may be that it's understood that the guy or gal who wrote the report took the picture. But, you may be doing reports where, it's not you, the person taking the picture. So you always want to, give that information to the readers. And then here, there is no photo whatever. So, see, that's not being consistent. Now this one's good. Site photos, videos taken, they indented. So that helps the reader. 1 and 2. Installation of silk fence in progress. Completed silk fence. So installation of silk fence was started. Completed silk fence installation for consistency. So anyway, it's a very interesting report. I like this one. Okay, so kind of the same thing. I sort of marked some things. Summer did a real good job again. Capital letter. And here, see, here's a place where she forgot to put the quote. So these are just some, editing issues you want to. And here again, it, not a clear reference, so say what it is. Let's see. Now I like this example of voice. So here are the examples she gave. Nouns and verbs are close together, because that's something, we got in the text. We've been reading about that. That is an important way to help readers and to be, more concise and specific. So I like that she explained that, because that shows how she's connecting information. Point of view, first person, third person. These are in bold. Probably when she went to type in here, the bold might have been turned on, but you want to turn that off, because some of these things are bolded, some of them aren't. Let's see. I see. Well, I was going to say maybe she's putting the examples not bolded, but this one's an example. So that's another case of being consistent. You see, these need to be bolded because these are actually the the information for this whole row. Here, I wouldn't bold these. you know, so I would just turn all of these to make them, you know, not bolded. Let's see. Good examples. Every sentence is detailed. And then the document is very detailed, how they were completed and what exactly happened. That's a very good sentence. This includes who visited and what was accomplished. The pictures help provide further detail of the progress. I think I think she probably meant to say think. This progress report does a good job at detailing the progress. So, very good. Anyway, I hope some of that helps. I mean, if all of y'all are doing as good of a job as Summer on, you know, analyzing and using the worksheet, I'd say you're all doing very, very well. But, you know, use her as an example if you're not being as specific and explaining to the reader the way she is. But because she's got, you know, there's some really, really good examples here to help some of the rest of you guys probably. So anyway, thanks again, Summer, and I appreciate what a good job you did.